First question's from Rowan Kavner. Go ahead.
Hey, Jimmy, I guess just first off, after a few appearances here, how have you been feeling physically?
Physically, I've been feeling good. Obviously, road trip to start the season was a little tough, but overall, the team, we came out of it really nice. So, good to be back here for sure and in front of our own fans. But physically, yeah, I've been feeling good.
It seems like it's kind of been, you have an outing, may get a couple days in between before you go back out. Do you see that kind of continuing to progress that way where you're on and then off a couple days?
Yeah, I can't say anything on that. I really don't know. All I know is just trying to be ready every day, keep the mentality of being ready every day, which is the biggest change from starting to bullpen is being able to turn that mentality on when you're down there and kind of continue to prep and just be ready physically and mentally. But as far as like the days in between, I think obviously that's up to the staff and the organization, but I think it also is dependent on how many innings I throw or pitches in that outing.
And then lastly, you mentioned kind of coming back home. How big was that outing for you against the Nationals? It seemed like you were pretty fired up, and were you able to kind of pinpoint anything that you worked on from that road trip?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't anything necessarily like physically. Well, first of all, it was huge, and it's just fun to be out there again. Especially my first game pitching here in front of our fans, and unfortunately, the first time I came in after Julio, I wasn't able to not allow his run to score. So it felt good to strand his guys out there, and I think that's the biggest thing on the team is guys picking up each other. So it felt good to kind of make up for the road trip in that aspect. But as far as addressing anything, it wasn't necessarily like a mechanical thing. I think it was more like a mental, maybe over-trying thing on that first road trip. A little bit of excitement, being active and back in the big leagues for first time in a while, and just maybe putting a little more mental pressure on some pitches than maybe I needed to. So my last outing here in LA, it was a lot more relaxed and physically just a lot like smoother, less effort, and ball was coming out better, similar to how it was in spring.
Thanks.
Next question is from Jorge Castillo. Go ahead.
Jimmy, you mentioned your preparation changes. Just wondering how so? Like, what are you doing differently every day now that you go to the ballpark?
It's just one of those things that's a little more fluid than when you're a starter. Obviously when you're a starter, when you're throwing, so you can plan your workouts and your bullpens and all that type of stuff ahead of time, and you know exactly what you're doing each day. Whereas out of the pen, it's kind of more things are subject to change a lot more depending on when you pitch, how many innings you pitch, how you feel, listen to your body. And our strength and conditioning staff and medical staff here do a great job of programming the treatment and helping lead us in the right direction. So that's been extremely helpful.
How about when you're on the mound? Do you find yourself sequencing any differently, pitching, any differently at all?
No, you just have to have your secondary pitches ready out the gate, which, even as a starter in today's game, it's the same thing. It's not like it was 5+ years ago, where as a starter, it's, unless you have like an elite fastball or something, you used to be able to establish your heater the first time through and then start mixing your off speed. No, like nowadays in today's game, with everybody able to pop you for a homer, or it's like you got to have everything ready out the gate. So it's very similar as far as like physically how you throw guys. I think that this organization has helped me understand my stuff a little bit better than maybe I have been able to in the past, especially coming off the injuries and how my stuff has changed because of the changes I've made and being healthy. So they've just kind of helped me see my stuff, how it works, kind of where it stands as opposed to everybody else. And that kind of helps you learn how to use it.
It's only four outings so far, but you mentioned the stuff you're using your fastball, I think like 30% of the time. Is that small sample size, or is that sort of how you envision yourself as a reliever, maybe going to your breaking stuff more?
Well, I think that's small sample size. it's, I mean, what is it, like 3 innings or something? I don't even know how
Yeah.
many innings. Yeah, it is small sample size. And there's going to be days where the fastball feels good and it's coming out good and I'm able to command it. But in some of the situations, like with runners on and, if you're throwing something and you see that someone's not on it or, they're swinging and missing or whatever it may be, it's almost like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sometimes as pitchers, we can overthink and be like, oh, I haven't thrown many heaters. I need to go to a heater. And then, you're that's what he hits. So it's just one of those things that's kind of reading swings and just trusting whatever is in my gut.
And have you leaned on anybody specifically during this transition to the bullpen?
Kind of everybody. It's been like a mixed bag, I mean, basically everybody down there's been great to just kind of pick brains and kind of see. Everybody's, a little different. Some people like to do more stuff down there. Some people do less. I'm definitely on the side of a little more, but it's something that will become more efficient as time goes on. And, but no, those guys have done a great job of, taking me in, I guess, so to speak, and helping me kind of make that transition.
Thank you.
Next question's from JP Hornstra. Go ahead, JP.
Hey, Jimmy. Looking at some of your underlying numbers, I've noticed that the spin rate on your fastball, your curveball, and your slider are all higher than ever. Wondering, how do you explain that? And is that something you focused on either in spring training or in your bullpens?
No, I mean, that's something that's developed over years. I mean, and that comes from first of all, being healthy. I mean, health first and foremost. I mean, it's when you're not throwing through stuff, you don't really know what you're capable of until you're, actually fully healthy. So it's been nice this entire spring and year to feel that way. And then also after the shoulder injury in 17, I was, my arm stroke was a little different, it was a lot longer, a lot more like rotational. And so coming back from that shoulder injury, I really had to change some things up because I wasn't able to throw like I used to. And then also just out of an efficiency and health standpoint, I needed to clean some things up. So in doing so, that kind of helped my breaking stuff, especially, but it kind of bumped up my spin on everything because I kind of like shortened it up, made it a little more efficient on the back end. And I could definitely tell I was spinning it better like in 2019 when I came back. And then still, didn't feel 100% in 2019. And then, obviously we know 2020 was the back, but now that I'm finally healthy, it's kind of like bumped up again. So it's no surprise that, those mechanical changes combined with being healthy are the two biggest variables. Absolutely.
I'm also writing about the new baseballs, which teams were told would be lighter and looser just a little bit once the regular season started.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've been able to notice a difference, in spring training, like the last couple of weeks, which I also think that affects spin as well. I feel like I've been able to spin my curveball and slider better because of, really all of them better because of it, because the seams seem to me feel like a little bit bigger. They're raised just a little bit more than, they were just a few years ago. And whenever they are a little looser, the ball almost feels bigger. Like the ball actually feels bigger in your hand. Because obviously the tighter it is, it's going to make the ball a little bit smaller and harder. But I've noticed not necessarily any difference from like the hardness of the ball, but it feels a little bit bigger and the seams to me feel a little bit easier to grip.
Last question, just as a follow-up to that. I know that sometimes when pitchers have told me that the seams feel bigger, that sometimes coincides with blisters. Has that been a threat for you at all this season, or no difference?
No, I mean, my whole career, I think I've dealt with a blister one time, and okay. I just pushed my start back a few days that instance. But as somebody that's thrown a lot of breaking stuff, if it was going to affect me, it would have been in Arizona, and I didn't have any issue.
Cool. Thank you.